welcome back to another episode of the Skits and Giggles podcast. For this one, we got to catch up with one of our earliest guests and friend of the podcast, Swiss Chris Räber. If you have been following his socials like us, you will also have noted a surprising increase in clips posted to his Instagram, and man, those whips don't lie. The old dog still got a bag of tricks. Chris completed 30 days of whips at the back end of last year in a mission to bring back the skills and stoke of mastering tricks and to reignite his passion for riding his bike every day if necessary. We dive deep into the experience and into the principles that apply to everyone struggling to learn new skills or to bring back long forgotten ones. Consistency, accountability, and appropriate recovery are all elements that we can apply to our own challenges towards becoming a better rider. We also get to hear about van life, his recent trip down south, and of course, the exciting news of him commentating BMX on Swiss national TV during the Paris Olympic Games. For more information about this episode and the Skits and Giggles podcast, you can just follow the links in the description. To support the podcast, please share this episode with your riding buddies or leave us a 5-star rating on your favorite platform. Also, have you heard about the best ride of the year? If not, then check out episode number 71 in our archives or go to skitsandgiggles.com/ride to find out more. That's it, that's all, Skigglers. And here's our chat with Swiss Chris Räber. All right, welcome back to the Skits and Giggles podcast. Swiss Chris Räber, how the hell are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for inviting me back. Always a pleasure being here. How are you guys doing?
Now that we're getting into it, I'm kind of feeling a bit hungry because I'm reminded of the last time we spoke with Chris. It was inside of a pizza shop. That was, that was ridiculous in a good way.
It was. It was the middle of COVID. Everything was closed. They let me into the pizzeria to do a podcast, and then they kicked me out at the end of the night. I remember that, yeah.
But where are you now?
I am at home.
Okay.
In my brand new apartment in Zurich.
Right on.
It's not brand new, but it's new for me.
Yeah.
Okay, you also just returned from correct me if I'm wrong, is it a 3-month trip down south? How did that come about?
So I have a van. I actually lived in a Volkswagen T5 since the end of April last year. I just really wanted to do that once in my life. At the end of 2022, I went on a long trip, a 3-month trip, did a similar route. Started in France, Spain, Portugal, just one big circle back to Switzerland. And when I came home, I realized I don't need more than my van, and it was starting to get warm again, so I quit my apartment, moved into a van, and spent the summer in there. It was a busy summer with I was doing shows pretty much every weekend and work, just very busy, and then me and my girlfriend packed our stuff and went on a 3-month trip. It was good.
Oh, nice. And just following the sun, or did you have any special projects along the way?
Yes, we were following the waves. For me, it's just time. I figured it's time to learn a new sport after I spent half my life on bikes. I tried it a little bit last year, didn't get quite as much into it. And then this year, I figured, let's give it another go, because it took me a couple goes to try to get into bikes as well. And it worked. I'm pretty hooked right now.
Oh, sweet. Oh, yeah. And I mean, I guess the coast of Portugal has some good surf, that time of the year that you were cruising around there.
Almost too good, yeah. Too good for a beginner.
Okay. All right. Well, another thing that really caught my eye towards the beginning of the year was a post you put up on Instagram celebrating a month of whips. Those whips don't lie. And you described a little bit, what you were doing. You talked about you kind of lost the trick. You wanted to work your way back. And you mastered it again by really doing whips every day for a month or so and some change, I guess. And I thought this was a really, really cool opportunity to catch up with you, because I think that kind of process could have some really great takeaways for, normal everyday riders like Bryson and I. And if it's a rider like yourself that is operating on such a level, I think there's something we can learn, and that's why I wanted to chat with you today.
Thank you.
So why don't you talk us through what the month of whips was all about?
To be honest, the month of whips probably started in 2017 when I broke my arm.
It's a couple of years of whips.
It couldn't get a full month though. So no, as you guys know, I was a pretty active slope style competitor at some point, traveling around, going to big events, and making a little bit of money with riding bikes as well. Never at a full professional level, but just good enough to spend a lot of time on my bike. Broke my arm at a big event in Colorado in 2017. That injury took me out for a year. And then when I got back after that year, it just wasn't the same, like couldn't keep up with all the young kids, didn't do well at events anymore. Lost some of my supporters and started doing like full-time work. Yeah, so that's like the end of 2018. And then, just the work thing, doing like construction work all the time and just not having energy at the end of the day to go ride, just riding less and less due to work stuff and the energy level. And started losing my tricks, stopped competing, and slowly just kind of like lost time on my bike, let's say that. Which if you're at a certain level as a rider, if you're suddenly at a lower level, it kind of loses its appeal quite a bit. So it got to a point where most of the times when I'd go out, I'd get pretty frustrated because I just couldn't do backflip tail whips anymore or front flip bar spins or stuff like that. No, I was like stuck at 360s and it just kind of like lost it just wasn't as fun anymore, to a point where you really kind of get frustrated at most sessions. Sure, you have good sessions with your friends when you're just flowing around, but I mean, I want to ride at a certain level and that's where I want to be. So over the years, then COVID hit. We couldn't really ride slopestyle anywhere. And last year I was just at a point where I only rode my bike for shows. Like we do a lot of the shows for Flying Metal where I do announcing. On a lot of the shows I have a headset, so I ride the show and announce the show. It's a lot of fun, but it's like a almost weekly thing. So I do pretty much shows every other weekend almost. Sometimes 3 or 4 in a row. Sometimes there's a couple of weekends in between. But yeah, last year I realized, man, I didn't ride a single session this year. I only rode shows. And obviously my level went down quite a bit. I didn't feel confident on my bike and kind of just left the bike in the basement. And so on this trip, I met my good friend Nuno Barroso in Portugal, who's one of the best dirt jump riders I know, just a crazy Portuguese shredder. And he invited me to his jam. Every year he puts on a little jam at his jumps. And it was honestly just embarrassing the way I rode. Like I was scared of the jumps. I couldn't get my tricks down. And I told my girlfriend, like, I'm just not having fun. It's just frustrating. And I'm just not at a level that I like. And I just don't enjoy it anymore. And then a tail whip was a trick that I've been doing for over 10 years. And at one point, I could even do them in a bunny hop. So I was pretty good at that trick. And at that jam, I wanted to do a tail whip on a simple jump, and I just ate so much shit. I just crashed like crazy. After taking like straight run-ups for 15 tries and not doing it, when I did it, I crashed. So I got so pissed off, and I was talking to Vessi, my girlfriend, and told her, I think I'm just going to do a tail whip every day. And she was like, yeah, do it. That'd be cool. And So yeah, I said, okay, it's the end of November. I'm just going to try and do a tail whip every day of December. And the idea of putting it on Instagram was kind of just to like build a support group or have people call me out if I don't do it. I realized a lot of people actually did get it pretty quick that, something's happening. He's posting every day after doing one post all of last year. And friends like Hoopy and Vitor and all these guys started actually texting me, telling me, hey, it's awesome to see you're doing stuff. Love the challenge. And at the end of the trip, I ended up in La Poma, Barcelona, La Poma bike park, where the whole European dirt jump scene gathers at the end of the year just to escape their awful winters. And so many people like came up to me and talked about the whip challenge and wanted to know where the next whip's going to be, what's next, or gave me inputs, or hey, you can do it on a BMX, or do a flip whip. Obviously, everyone wanted to see a flip whip, which I don't quite have in me yet, but we'll see. So yeah, that's the idea. I kind of built a support group through Instagram, and it worked. It forced me to do a tail whip every day. Yeah.
That's a pretty tried and true method to get, people behind you rallying to help you out, to kind of, bring the responsibility forward, right? It's I've seen it many times. A lot of people have a lot of success with that. But if we take it back to that like very moment where you decided to tell yourself, I'm just going to do one every day. How did you get to that thought?
The thought process was, it didn't start with a tail whip. It started with, I just want to ride my bike every day this month. So I wanted to set myself a trick, basically, that it was the tail whip that I couldn't do at Nuno's Jam. That's kind of a coincidence. I wanted to set myself a trick that would kind of force me to find a spot, like a spot that lifts me up high enough so I can actually get off my bike, swing that thing, and get back on it. And I wanted it to be a trick that'll force me to put on pads. So it couldn't be like a bar spin where I can just go in the garage, do a hop bar spin, and put my bike away again. I really wanted something where I'd go somewhere, put on pads, and actually like want to warm up and have a session. And it actually worked really well. Like a lot of those videos you saw, we had a lot of really good sessions on days that I probably would not have ridden my bike. So I had a lot of fun doing it.
Okay, so you're really motivated to get on your bike every day because you were in... you're basically traveling with your bike. So you just said to yourself, this is the opportunity for me. I'm going to ride my bike every day and I'm going to enjoy it. And you know what? I'm going to challenge myself to do so.
Yeah, I had the time. I had the bike. There's enough time to get on your bike every day, even if you're doing something else. Like you can get out at night, you can get out in the morning. And if you scroll back to the first couple ones, you'll see there's a bunch of them at night, because I had two friends visiting in Portugal and we were riding enduro all day. Then after full days of pedaling, we'd go back to like the base. I'd switch bikes, go to a spot, do a tail whip. Those were the hard days. As soon as they left, it got quite a bit easier.
Yeah, because you had to basically put everything down, then get back up again and do it all over again. But 31 days is like, I mean, just to ride it, just to have the idea to ride your bike 31 days straight is already a feat in itself. But to push yourself to progress into bettering yourself with a trick, I've never done something like this, but yeah, I thinking back to how you're saying to yourself, you felt a certain way when you started to kind of like fall off in terms of like the level of riding that you wanted to be at. And I could sympathize because I've also gone through like kind of swings, like where I was riding a lot and I was feeling really good about my riding and then it kind of dropped off. And I'm not exactly sure why. But then I also, as a result, kind of felt like, I don't want to really ride so much anymore. But then by circumstance, maybe a trip or whatever it was, maybe meeting a new friend or group, that I started riding a bunch more again. And then all of a sudden it was like an upswing. So I guess we all kind of go through that. Like average Joes like me, yourself, it's not uncommon. But for me, I also find that it's not the easiest thing to like come back from. So yeah, I would really like to hear about how you brought yourself back into it, like how you found that motivation and maybe what you learned about yourself by doing so.
First of all, I learned I'm not too old to do it. I'm just not putting in the time I need. That was a big one which is actually at the end, the last tail whip I posted, or the last couple, were actually bunny hop tail whips, which I haven't done in 10 years. So I got good enough in 1 month to do a trick I haven't done in 10 years again.
It's just like you found that motivation. And for example, in contrast, I really have a hard time to say to myself, I'm going to ride X days straight, like you did it. Like that's a feat itself, right?
So obviously when I started, I was like, oh my God, I'm never going to get through this. But at some point, like after a couple of days, you have a chain going and you just don't want to break that chain. So yeah, that was kind of like the goal. It was kind of a goal for me too. I wanted to upload that trick every day. And I'd say the first 4 or 5 days were probably the hardest because you'd actually be lazy and you're not far enough that anyone would notice. And then, like I said, you kind of like got a chain going and you just don't want to break it. So for anyone who actually sets himself a challenge, I think tell people what you're up to and post it on Instagram, for example, and you'll see that it's not just the support from the people around you. It's also like you want to do it. You just don't want to stop. So it was actually hard when I was done with the challenge. Like the first day when I didn't upload, I was like, what do I do now?
Yeah, what now?
Should I keep going or do something else? And yeah.
No, it's interesting, really, because I've talked about this on the podcast before. I've done the kind of the Swiss cycling instructor education certification, whatever you want to call it, last year, and of course, all these skills training things are center stage in that education. So it's kind of like just funny to see how that actually works. All these things we had in the classroom and to some extent out on the on the tarmac where we had to practice the wheelies and the nose turns and all that sort of stuff, how that actually also works for someone that's on a very, very different level, right? And I guess some of the cool things I pick out, right, is kind of like this notion of accountability. You put up a video every day on Instagram, people see it, people follow it, people comment on it. It's very visible, right? But I think what kind of one of my taglines is kind of this consistency compounds, right? So it's kind of like this consistency. You do it every day, and because you keep doing it every day, it gets easier every day, and then you kind of have this almost snowball effect of progression where, especially for you, for someone, as you say, right? So it was 10 years ago, you had that trick in the bag, and at some stage the muscle memory is going to kick in again. And then you said as yourself, right? Towards the end, you were doing tricks that was 10, 15 years ago. That's the last time you did it.
So the coolest thing I actually noted or noticed was like at the beginning, if you go back, the first ones are pretty easy. Maybe the very first one's hard, but I kind of wanted to start it with a bang. It was mostly fly outs out of like quarter pipes or maybe a bank or over a straight jump, which is you have enough time to swing that bike around and catch the pedals. So it's it's a bit easier. And then as you go on, like one of my favorite ones was in Spain at night. We were riding all day again, or actually I was working that day. And then I knew I have to do it. It was like 9 o'clock at night or something. It was dark, freezing cold. And then Hoopy and me rolled up to this little skate park somewhere in the middle of nowhere. And there was literally nothing good to tail whip. And I knew like this is the best bet to find a spot to do it today. So I took a couple takes at a bank to bank, like a little pyramid. which is fairly hard because you have to do a real bunny hop, yank that tail whip around. It's really small and it took a couple tries, but as soon as I landed it, it was like, okay, that works again. And so the next spot I went to that was similar to that, it was like, I know I can do it because I did it 2 days ago. And yeah, just like having that confidence again, knowing I can do a little tail whip on a bank to bank, and then they kept getting smaller at one point. And yeah, the confidence in knowing I can do the trick just got bigger and bigger, and yeah, to the point where I could do them as small as possible, basically.
And switch.
I did a switch one. I did two switch ones actually last month.
Well.
I did. Yeah, I was very happy about that one. That's another one I haven't done in a long time, and it worked. I think second try, so that was cool.
No, and it's I guess another thing I want to pick up on is is of course like through the routine of doing it every day, right? So you kind of you have this repeated practice. You keep going at the same trick, the same skill over and over and over again. But it's because it's not doing it the whole day. You take enough of a break to actually let your brain recover, let your body recover, and then that helps again to then go again the next day with a fresh mind and kind of to bring those skills back and put them into practice again. So there's I'm already going through my mental list of takeaways that we can summarize towards the end, but I wanna see if we can find some more. Bryson, what do you think?
I noticed some pretty good comments. Like you had a lot of fire emojis, a lot of people rallying you on, thumbs up and great messages and stuff. But my favorite one's from Luca Cometti. Did you see that one?
Probably. Which one was it?
I think it was day 28.
Yeah. You're gonna make me go look?
No. I can. Let me see if I can. Maybe it's not quoting, but it's paraphrase. Let's say it's. I think he asked you if that was how many days you went without a shower.
That was a good one. Yeah, I did see that.
I guess he knows about your situation living in a van and.
I think so. Yeah.
Because it's a pretty cool. If we could segue for just one question, van life. We have had some other van lifers on, and it's definitely like a bucket list thing. So how did you in the end? How did you feel about that?
I mean, first of all, I love projects. I love building stuff or not creating. Just I like woodwork a lot. So building the van was an idea. It wasn't necessarily, van life, I want to do that. It was more like, I built my first van when I broke my arm because I had nothing else to do. I found a bunch of pallets lying around. I took them apart, made boards for everything and built a van. Sold that van, got the next van, made that a bit better. I just really enjoy the process of, just woodworking, and the idea behind it was I want a place to stay when I'm on the road for all the bike weekends we do in France or when we go to events. That was actually the idea why I wanted a van, and I really enjoyed building the van. And the idea that I could live in the van really came after that 3-month trip last year when I just noticed, hey, I have an apartment back home I'm paying so and so much money for, and I just realized I didn't miss it once the entire time I was on the road. So let's try it. Now's the time. Why not? And I just loved it. I really enjoyed it.
That's great. Pascal, are you almost a van lifer, or what's going on there?
No, I'm still just.
You got the van.
I have the van. I have the van, so that part is done. But I'm still trying to figure out what the best use of the van is. So far, it's mainly a shuttle rig for my son and his football team, and a couple of my bikes, and the dog. The dog loves to drive the van. She hates the car. So that seems also a good use, but. I haven't really thought about complete conversion yet. I mean, I can just see what a black hole of effort it can be, because again, as you say, right, so like the second you're done, you're like, oh, that was a stupid decision, maybe I should do something else, maybe I should redo it, so let's sell this one and get another one.
You definitely redo it a bunch of times.
And it's the same as like, all the toolbox projects, or I just remodeled my workspace here in our flat, so that's also kind of a constantly developing kind of project. So I can see how with vans that is an endless project, and you're never really done. And when you're done, then it's kind of like, okay, I need to sell it and start something new.
Speaking of which, are you going to do another 30-day challenge or something like this? Or you kind of think, okay, I did that, I'll just go back to something else?
No, I definitely thought about it. I really liked it. I live in Zurich. I live 5 minutes from a skate park now, so why not? It'll force me to be on my bike at least once a day. But I think I'm going to wait for summertime because it's freezing cold out. I went out on the BMX earlier today, and for 5 minutes I couldn't feel my hands anymore. So I'll probably wait a couple months, weeks. We'll see. I don't know what it's going to be yet. I have no idea. Like I said, bar spin's not an option. It's just doesn't count. So maybe a 360. We talked about maybe a 360 combination a day. So just at least a 360 with maybe a tabletop, maybe a tail whip, bar spin, X up, something. That could be a cool one. It would force you to find a spot, pad up, be creative. Yeah, that might be the next one. We'll see.
Did you have any issues keeping your bike in top shape for the whole thing? Did you wear out your grips too much, or?
My bike, it's a miracle with my bike. Like, the longer that thing is exposed to rain and salt water, the better it gets. I don't know why.
It's weathered in. Nice.
It's literally like after like having it on the back of my car for a month, I took it down once and I was like, this thing's going to feel like shit. And I got on and I was like, wow, it's never felt this good. Like,
I should do this more often.
Seasoned.
Yeah. I had to oil the chain a little bit, grease the chain, but that's pretty much it.
Obviously, it's been a little bit of time since we last sat down with you. It was actually, I listened to it again today, it was episode number 10. So this is going to be episode number 73. I think that is the record for repeat guests in terms of gap between episodes.
Wow.
I guess before we move on, I just want to hear a little bit what's next for Chris Räber, for Swiss Chris. What's next? Not only in terms of trick challenges, but, are there going to be more shows? Are you going to start compete again? What else is on the horizon?
Honestly, right now, I think I'm at the point where I'm totally fine not competing anymore. I watch the stuff everyone's doing, and I don't even miss it. I'm kind of glad I get to be a part of it through announcing, which has become quite the thing for me. Also, sorry, thanks to the injury back then, in that year that I was out of riding, I got asked to do a couple events, like just announce the events, some BMX stuff. And it kind of snowballed. It got pretty big. Like I said, I'm pretty much at some bike-related event every weekend throughout the summer. And this year, I think one of my biggest goals, you can't really say it's a goal. I thought about it when BMX park became Olympic. I was thinking, it would be cool to maybe be involved in that. And this year, I'm actually going to the Olympics as the commentator for Swiss National TV. So I'm happy that turned out. Announcing's a big part. Thank you.
Awesome.
Really looking forward
Congratulations.
to it.
That is like a freaking bomb if there ever is one.
Man.
Thanks. Yeah. The announcing is something that I really enjoy, and I feel lucky that my bike path has led me to that position, where a lot of other riders just kind of stop and disconnect from the scene. I'm still very involved in the scene, which also forced me to get into BMX quite a bit. as the expert in BMX as a mountain biker. I had to listen to all the podcasts, learn all the tricks, follow all the riders, and gather information for these events. So I'm really enjoying that. I'm also enjoying the Send It shows, the Trick It shows that we're doing, Pump Trek shows. Yeah, just a lot of bike related events I get to be a part of. That's new, or has been new over the years since we last talked. Living in Zurich's new. Never thought I'd end up in a city, but so far I like it. It's been a week.
Well, you still have the van to get out again.
Yeah, that's new. A bunch of some work related stuff that's new. For instance, I'm planning on starting at the Zurich Bike School. You know that, Pascal, because we met at the coaches meeting last
What are you doing
week.
here?
Yeah. Looking forward to that. Also, a bike-related thing that I can have as part of a job. Still doing a little bit of like pump track designing and project management on the side. So a lot of new stuff. But
sounds interesting. Sounds exciting. And I for sure am looking forward to, seeing you in person as a coach, like showing those young senders how it's done still, at least the tail whip. And, and obviously the whole coverage for the Olympics, that's going to be epic when you can say like, oh, I know that guy.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
All right, cool. I mean, you also, what I always noted, you always have kind of a good eye for, who is on a good path, who is a hot new guy who has the stuff to be the next Swiss Chris, the next Hoopy, the next. So who's next? What do you think? What is Chris Räber's view on who we should be talking to next as a upcoming slopestyle rider in Switzerland?
Oh man, I think everyone who is into dirt jumping and slopestyle already knows this, but we have a bunch of really good talents coming up, but at the top of my list is Reto Heini right now. He's just having the time of his life on his bike. He's going crazy, blowing minds every time he rides. Like, he doesn't have a chill mode. It's just sending the craziest stuff, and to him it's not even crazy. It's just, sure, I'll do a flare on the seawalls in Barcelona. Like, you call him out like, hey, you could do this, and first he'll be like, I don't know, I'm not warmed up, and then 10 minutes later, sure enough, you're pointing a phone at him doing that.
Wow.
He's just so talented. He's in love with the sport, just having the time of his life. And he has no limits. He's insanely good. He's definitely my number one. And then there's a couple others like Jerome Hollinger, who's extremely talented, who does crazy stuff like cork sevens out of pump track berms, like insane. And then Jeremias Luder, I think his name is Jeremiah, Yerelu on Instagram. He's doing pretty well too. I actually coached him a couple years ago in Swiss Bike Park when he could barely do a bar spin. And now he's doing 360 bar spin to tail whip to bar spins in Lenzburg, which is a hard jump to even 360. So yeah, the Swiss dirt jump scene, as we talked about in the last episode, it's just got the infrastructure. It's got, with people like Hoopy, it's got someone to look up to and show them that anything is possible in the sport. And we've got the talent. It's amazing to see. Oh, and we also have Michelle Neuner at the moment, who is a girl we definitely have to keep our eye on.
You shared a reel or some clips from her, and I was like, oh, dang.
Yeah.
Wow.
She actually got inspired by the tail whip challenge, and she's trying to do a backflip every Friday. Mini Flip Friday, I think. Mini Flip Monday or Mini Flip Friday? Flip Friday. So she's trying to do a backflip every week of this year. She she's crazy good at backflips. She can flip any bike she's on. She learned it on a BMX, took it to the enduro bike, to the downhill bike. She just got hooked up by Beeks Hostetler. So she got a dirt jump bike, and first night in Barcelona or La Poma when we went this year, we went to a little skate park and she flipped the tiniest quarter there, and everyone there was just like, what? Like, it's insane. She's so driven and also loving it. Yeah, sorry, that was 4 people instead of one.
No.
Sorry.
That is perfect. That's homework, more homework for us. And I guess what I would like to do to kind of wrap up this episode is kind of like go through again your kind of key takeaways and like principles that you would recommend for anyone that is struggling with some skill stuff. It doesn't have to be a tail whip. It can be as simple as a wheelie or a skid or some other incredibly important skill. If they want to brush up on something, what should they be focusing on?
So obviously, my tip is to post it and tell a bunch of people what you're up to, because really that chain, it works. As soon as you get something going, you just don't want to break it. Just tell people what you want to do and actually start doing it. So for me, it was actually funny. Like I told you earlier, if you go back, the first tail whip was December 2nd. So the first day I already bitched out. That's why I did January 1st as well. So yeah, actually just tell someone you're going to do it and go start it and find a way to, I don't know, symbolize it, or even if it's just like putting a mark on a calendar or something like that. Just build visual. A chain, make it visual, build a chain, and try to keep it going. Yeah, I'm actually playing around with it. I'm trying to figure out what else I can apply that to. Like since I got back from the trip, I've been also like trying to improve my morning routine with that same thing, and kind of helps. Yeah.
Bryson, you're obviously now inspired from this discussion.
Definitely.
So what are you going to work on in 2024?
Actually, something that I wanted to do for a really long time, and I came pretty close a couple times in years past, is have a really solid core midsection. I used to play rugby, and there I also developed it quite well. Like, you need to kind of have an all-around type of physique. And then, also with cycling, it really gets you there. So I really want to train, I guess is where I'm getting at.
Getting hench. That's what you mean. You want to be huge.
Well, I actually don't want to be huge. I want to stay like pretty much the same stature, but at least be like more athletic than I have been in the past 3 or 4 years. And then also just kind of like use that core strength to enhance kind of the all-around thing. But that's where you come in with the inspiration, Pascal, because you are a serial commitment freak. And you are you are consistently training, and this inspires me as well. So you guys are you're double inspiring me right now. I can almost not take it. But just jokes aside.
Gonna work out so hard.
Yeah, I'm gonna get on the trainer right after this episode. But that's actually part of it. I'm gonna get on the trainer more. I'm going to really focus and not try to like psych myself out with it. Really take it at my own pace, but at least know that I'm doing that one thing. Maybe not every day, but that, Chris, you did it as like, I'm going to do a tail whip a day. Obviously you did more, but like if you have that one goal of doing one and then you're having fun on your bike and you're just like, yeah, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and do some more or do some other things. And by the time you know it, you're like, gassed out. And you're like, okay, well, that was a good sesh because I did way more than I expected to do. And then Pascal, like you're just all the time training, all the time ready. And I think I can take just a dialed down version of that and apply that. So that's my 24. And I let's call it Consistency.
Because consistency compounds consistently.
Oh,
Isn't that fire? That's
I'm
my new
scheduling my
tagline.
tattoo right now.
On the forehead.
Exactly. Please do that.
So what about you, Pascal? What's your 24?
Well, so funny story. So when I finished one of the courses last year with the Swiss cycling program, they said like, look, if you're gonna be pro mountain biker, for lack of a better word, then you need to look for a new hobby, because it's not sustainable if your hobby is your job, and then that's just going to be a recipe for disaster. So my solution is to discover the gravel bike and upped my training again. So I set myself the goal of qualifying for the World Championships in my age group. So,
Amazing.
So we'll see what happens with my sustainability and work-life balance between the mountain bike and the gravel bike, and see where that takes me. But it's a lot of fun. I've been gravel hesitant, so to speak. But yeah, there's a great overlap and a lot of fun to be had. Certainly around here where I live, and so I'm looking forward to the events. They look like really cool formats. I mean, I have 2 chances towards the end of June and the beginning of July, and so yeah, we'll see. Consistently training will certainly help towards the goal, and and if everything goes well and I execute to my abilities, then it's certainly within my reach to get there.
Are you going to post it?
Every day.
Well, there's my Strava. You can just
you're
follow
doing
me on
that.
Strava.
See,
You can
You've been
Okay.
doing that for years.
exactly.
So I also have to somehow
I'm
post
pretty
something.
transparent. But yeah, so it's the latest you see me rock up in a rainbow jersey, you know what happened.
Oh, man. I cannot wait.
Yeah, no. I'll let's focus. Trust the process. Focus on the process, and then the rest happens. And if it happens the right way, then it should be good. So we'll see.
Yeah, good luck
Certainly
with that.
an interesting
Awesome.
project. Anywho, I think we should wrap it up for tonight. I think we should also mention our best ride of the year that people should check out on our website. We still have the landing page up. The registrations are flowing in. So that's skitsandgiggles.com/ride. Bryson and I, we set ourselves the goal to have a in-person ride experience this year, and we're kind of crowdsourcing all the inputs throughout the first quarter of the year, and then we'll crystallize those inputs into hopefully a great, if not the best ride of the year. Maybe finally, Chris, if people have any more questions, want to see more of your challenges, where can they find you so we can stick those things into the show notes?
My Instagram, still the best to reach me. It's at Chris Räber. I don't have too many followers, so I will see your message.
Good stuff. All right, we'll stick that into the description where you can find all the other links to the stuff we discussed as well. So that's for sure going to be the first episode with Chris, which is now pretty much exactly 3 years ago from our early days of the podcast, but still a good one. And I actually listened to it today. It's really still very good, despite the pizzeria noise in the background and all the other things we talked about. And with that, we say thank you, Chris. That was really cool. And see you soon.
Thank you, guys. It was awesome to catch up with you, and I hope I didn't talk too much.
Good to see you again, Chris.
Thanks for listening. We really hope you enjoyed this episode. Why don't you let us know what you think? We really like to hear from our listeners. To find out how to get in touch with us, follow the links to our website in the description or find us on Instagram under @skitsandgiggles. Until next time, Skigglers.